Today we're doing test crosses from Heredity. Now, for the basics of this concept, each cell of the body has 23 pair of chromosomes. And in one pair of chromosomes at the same position, for example, over here, there are genes controlling the same characteristic. For example, the gene at this position controls height. Now, there are two types of genes. One are recessive and one are dominant. Dominant genes are those that show their feature in the physical appearance whenever they are present. But recessive show their feature only if both the alleles are recessive. Now, what are alleles? Alleles are different forms of the same type of gene. For example, for height, capital T is the allele for tall height and small t is for short height. Now, in the chromosomes, in one pair of chromosome at the same position, there can be different from the same gene. So there could be a capital T over here and a small t over here. But a capital letter represents a homozygous gene. So the capital T, which was for tall, will show its feature and the person will be tall. Similarly, if both are capital T, both the alleles, then again the person will be tall. But if both are small t, then the person will be short. The first one is called heterozygous, the second is called homozygous dominant, and the third is called homozygous recessive. Now we'll do some questions relating to this. The diagram shows the inheritance. First, one more thing, that when gametes are formed, what happens is that from a pair of chromosomes, one enters or one forms one gamete and the other forms other gamete. So for example, this one had the capital T and this one had a small t. So one gamete will have a capital T and one will have a small t. The same gamete formation, similar gamete formation will occur in the other parent. For example, if that parent had capital T, was a homozygous dominant and had capital T and capital T. So then for the offspring, we'll make a test cross to find the probability of the genotypes of the offspring. The genotypes mean the genetic makeup, while the phenotype is the physical appearance. So for the genotypes, now this one is capital T, capital T. This one is capital T, small t. This is capital T, capital T. So now the genotypes are in the ratio of 1:1 because there are two homozygous dominant and two heterozygous. But the phenotype of all of them are tall. Now we'll do some questions. The diagram shows the inheritance of a recessive characteristic that is controlled by a single pair of alleles, capital T and small t. T represents the dominant allele and capital T represents the dominant allele and small t represents the recessive allele. What are the most likely genotypes of individual P and Q? Now P is a normal male, so P has the dominant phenotype, while the shaded box shows an affected male or female. So this one, the affected male or female will have the genotype of small t, small t. While over here, we will suppose that P and Q have the genotype capital T, capital T. Therefore, if there is capital T, and small t, the gametes that are formed are, while the offspring will be for the first one, capital T and small t. For the second one, capital T and small t. Capital T and small t, capital T and small t. So this shows that all the offspring will have will be normal and will not be affected by the recessive characteristic. So that's why over here all are white unshaded boxes. However, when two of these mate, that is two recessives mate with each other, so there is two heterozygous mate with each other, the gametes that are formed are these. Now, so the possible offspring are capital T, small t, small t, capital T, small t, and capital T, small t. So now we can see over here that there is a chance of a affected offspring to be born. That is why the answer to this will be that P and Q have both homozygous dominant alleles. Okay, now why did we not take why did we take D as the option? If instead of D, instead of capital T and capital T for P and Q, we had P as capital T small t and Q as capital T small t, and these are recessive, so they have to be small t small t. So the offspring that were produced, for them we'll make this cross again. Now over here, we'll get offspring as TT, capital T small t, capital T small t, small t, small t, and small t small t. So this is wrong because in the first generation, in the second generation, there are all unaffected individuals. However, over here, there is a half chance of affected individuals being produced. That is why P and Q have to be capital T, that is homozygous dominant. So D is the answer. Now the next question is, the inheritance of the A, B, O blood groups in humans is controlled by the three alleles IA, IB, and IO, only two of which can be present in one individual. What are the possible blood groups of children born to a homozygous group A woman and a heterozygous group B man? Now, for a woman to be homozygous group A, that means that the genotype is IA for this woman, while for this man who is heterozygous group B is IBIO. It cannot be for the group B man, it cannot be IBIA, because then the phenotype would be AB. The blood group would be AB. So that's why it is IBIO. Now making the test cross for these two. For this one, we'll have IB or IO. Now the first possibility is IAIB. Then it is IAIO. Here it is again IAIO. And for this one, IAIB. So now the blood groups for the first and the last one is blood group AB, and for the second and third, it's blood group A. That's why B is the correct answer. Next question is, flower color is controlled by a single pair of alleles. The alleles for red flowers is dominant to the allele for white flowers. So for example, we can take capital R for the red flower, that is dominant, and small r for the white flower, that is recessive. A plant homozygous for red flowers is crossed with a plant homozygous for white flowers. So a homozygous for red flowers means capital R, and homozygous for white flower means small r, small r. Now these two are crossed. So the gametes have, now when the test cross is made, the possible offsprings will be R, capital R, small r, and capital R, small r, because this allele with this is capital R, small r, with this it's capital R, small r. This one again with both will form capital R, small r. So they are all heterozygous and all will have the red color. Now in the next statement they're saying, when the F1 generation, this is the F1 generation, when the F1 generation are crossed with each other, 18 plants are obtained, 12 plants have red flowers and 6 have white flowers. So we'll take two of these and cross them with each other. So capital R, small r, and capital R, small r. So this is capital R, and this is capital R, small r. This is small r, small r. This is capital R, small r. So over here, this one is red and these two are red, while one is white. So the ratio that we're getting is 3:1 of the phenotypes. However, over here, 12 are red and 6 are white. So the ratio is 12:6, that is equals to 2:1. So what ratio is expected in the F2 generation and what ratio has been obtained? This is the F2 generation. The expected ratio was 3:1 and the obtained one is 2:1. So that's why C is the correct option. The next question is, two individuals are heterozygous for a particular gene. Now we'll take any two letters for this. For example, capital B for dominant and small b for recessive. And both are heterozygous. So both are capital B and small b. Now, which statements about their offsprings are correct? Their offspring may show two phenotypes as a result of this gene. Offspring with the recessive phenotype will be homozygous for this gene. Their offspring have 50% chance of being heterozygous for this gene. First, we'll make the test cross for these. So both are heterozygous. These are the gametes. So there are, the ratio of the phenotypes is coming 3:1, as these three have a dominant phenotype and this has a recessive one. Now the first statement was their offspring may show two phenotypes as a result of this gene. So that is correct because there are three showing a dominant phenotype and one showing a recessive phenotype. So both phenotypes are being shown. The second statement is offspring with the recessive phenotype will be homozygous for this gene. That is also correct because for recessive, always the genotype is homozygous recessive. So for the recessive phenotype, they have to be homozygous. And the last one is the offspring have 50% chance of being heterozygous for this gene. Over here, out of these four, two are heterozygous while two are homozygous. So there is 2 upon 4 into 100 would give us 50%. So there is a 50% chance of the offspring being heterozygous. So A is the correct answer with all statements correct. Next question, the diagram shows inheritance of blood groups in two different families. For each of P and Q, what is the probability that they have a co-dominant genotype? Now in blood groups, IA, IB is a co-dominant genotype. This is because both A and B are not dominant over each other, nor are they recessive for each other. So in this case, the phenotype that is obtained is an AB blood group. So they are saying that what is the probability of having an AB blood group? Because that is the only dominant genotype in blood groups. Now for the first family, the gametes, so we can see that all the offspring have the genotype IA, IB, all have the blood group, hence AB. So the probability of getting a codominant genotype in P is 1. So it's either C or D. Now for Q, that is family 2, the parents had IO, IO or IA, IO. The gametes will be so so we can see over here that this one and this have the phenotype A because O is recessive and A is dominant, while the other two have the phenotype O because they're homozygous recessive. So there is no chance of an offspring with a codominant genotype that is AB. So for Q it's 0 and C is the correct option. Last question, two parents both have blood group A. Their first child has blood group O. What is the probability that their second child will also have blood group O? Now, two parents both have blood group A. Now, either the parents have IA or IAIO. So if they have IA, IA, and IA, IA all have homozygous dominant, then I'm just representing it with A, the gametes. So all the offspring will be homozygous dominant. So this is not a possibility because their first child was a blood group O. Now we'll take one homozygous dominant parent and the other heterozygous parent. In this case, again, I'm representing by A and O only. In this case, these will be so again over here, all the offspring have the phenotype A, their blood group is A. So again, this is not possible because their first child has to have blood group O. Now we'll take both parents as homozygous recessive, as heterozygous in fact, because they have to have IAIO and IAIO. Now the gametes will be IA, now this one is possible because over here, the second possibility gives us an O blood group, whereas the other three give us an A blood group. So the parents have to be both parents have to be heterozygous for blood group A, and the probability of their second child of having blood group O is 0.25 because out of 4, there's only one chance of having a blood group O. So 1 upon 4 is equals to 0.25. Therefore, it's B.